while this has, of course, it's fun and there's something here, it's still lacking a big component. So Patrick already said, I think the first day I started here, is that I think you need to add PvP.
We had conversations, and I certainly, as I'm always, was very opinionated towards the team around what I thought. I mean, from the start, I said, listen, I think that we need this to be a PvP game to some extent. I think we're going to struggle with getting a PvE game the way that we want to with the tech that we have.
And that's really when we had a lot of internal discussions, and I think we had our summer party and then went on break and came back, and then everyone was informed that we were pivoting to a new genre and starting to explore what that could mean.
What's up, Raiders? The team at Embark Studios just dropped the Evolution of Arc Raiders Episode 1, Finding Arc Raiders, and in this video they go into great detail about many interesting topics covering the game's early development, what they were trying to make the game into, there's certain different inspirations, and how the game ended up pivoting in what they call the pivot and the reset to become a PvP game. A lot of details are going to be given in this video. More than 6 different developers from Embark, from the CEO to the executive producer to the design director, the art team, animators, everybody is interviewed in this video and gives their perspective on the early development as it pivoted from a PvE to a PvPVE game. So if you're interested in the past development of this game, if you've ever been curious as to why it changed from a PvE game into an extraction shooter, you're going to want to watch this. I'm going to break it down and give you my takeaways, but the original video, that's almost 30 minutes long, will be linked below. You're definitely going to want to go watch that if you're interested in this. But in this video right now, I'm going to give you a short, quick breakdown and give you my takeaways as well. So let's get into it. Make sure you're subscribed, like and comment for the algorithm. Here we go. This is the first video of many in a series coming about the development in Arc Raiders. So there will be more coming, and I will be covering those as well, but this is the first one. So they're focusing on the early stages of development of Arc Raiders, from the very beginnings of them designing assets, building the AI, and trying to make it work with their original ideas. Essentially, what the creative director said was the initial idea of this game was to make it some kind of Venn diagram between Shadow of the Colossus, Left 4 Dead, and PUBG. So that's what they were going for initially. There was really large, insanely gigantic robots. And then essentially what one of them said throughout the video was that they just didn't really think it through. The playing ended up being you just running around looking up the whole time because the robots were so gigantic, and they didn't really think through how are you supposed to get up there on them, what happens if you fall off. So they ended up pivoting into this game that was a very, very large spread out map where you went around, did certain things, and it was supposed to culminate in you grouping up with, there's like 3 to 4 teams on a map, so grouping up with the surviving players from the other teams to take down a gigantic enemy that you've spawned in. Essentially what all of them say is the same thing we've heard from them before, is that it culminated sometimes in very memorable, amazing moments, but a lot of the other times it just didn't come together, and it could result in hours of very, very boring gameplay. And we got a little more detail into why that was this time. In one little snippet, 2 of the devs explained how sometimes you would spawn in and the boss would already be dead, or sometimes you would spawn in and the boss would already be disabled without its legs and not being able to fight back, and that would not provide a very interesting experience for you. There's some really amazing footage we do get to see here. Footage of them in a speeder speeding across the land. So at one time there was vehicles in this game. We see again the footage of them leaping into the air and having insane mobility. We also see a lot of new clips that we never got to see before in this video. One video that made me really miss what could have been if they did decide to make this a full PvE game was the ability show where a player had thrusters and they were thrusting back, right, and left while dodging the attacks of the PvE enemies. So it looks like they could have gotten to a point where this could have been a really amazing PvE game. But essentially what happened was they went to one of their devs and they said, give us a 6-month plan for bringing this game to market. And he said they needed 2 years. And they said, do it in 6 months. And it almost feels like they just put themselves in an impossible position. The game clearly was just not ready. This was years ago, before the finals even came out, that they told him, try to put this together in 6 months. And they were just nowhere near an actual finished product. There's no way that it would have worked. So it's kind of hard to say exactly that this game could not have been a PvE only game and been successful. But what definitely happened was they didn't give it a fair shot. When somebody says we need 2 months to take what we have here and make it into a finished product, and you say you have 6 months to do it, it's obviously not going to be a polished, amazing game like we have in Arc Raiders. And that's one of the most amazing things about Arc Raiders in its current and final form, is that it's so polished and that it's so high quality. Every aspect of it feels so well done. And I believe that's one of the benefits of this game remaining in development for so long. If this game had released many, many years ago, it would be nothing close to what it is now. So they've had years to fine-tune all the different design elements, because this game has been in development for so very long. At a certain point, they even had to decide, okay, we have to put the finals out first while we keep tweaking this and working on this. And that's why Arc Raiders is such an amazing finished product, is because it didn't get rushed out. It got worked on for so many years, and they went with their gut and they trusted themselves to take it in the directions that they thought it needed to go. And the directions they thought it needed to go was becoming a PvPVE game and adding the PvP interactions. Now, do I think that if they decided to give them the full 2 years, or even all the time they've taken since that 6-month pivot period until now to just focus on enhancing the PvE experience and making the PvE good, could they have actually made it an amazing standalone PvE game? Absolutely 100%. I think they could have. There's no doubt in my mind, from the footage I've seen, from the technology they've put into the enemies and whatnot. I think there's absolutely a way they could have made this a fantastic, amazing PvE game, a PvE only game. But at the end of the day, it frankly would not have appealed to as many people as it does now. This game is blowing up. It's out of control. It's doing very well. Even with Battlefield 6, Black Ops 7, Tarkov 1.0 out, it still hit a brand new concurrent high on Steam in like its third weekend out. So they absolutely made the best decision for the success of the game. Did it need to happen? I'm not 100% going to agree with that. I know a lot of people like to say if this was a PvE only game, it would be so boring. I think it would be just fine if they had people who were PvE minded and they took as much time as they did to make this game now to just make it into a PvE game. Yeah, I thought it would be excellent, but they didn't give it that time. And it was one of the things brewing in the CEO's head very early on in this game's development cycle, was that it needed PvP. And he specifically brought over executive producer Alexander Grondal from Battlefield and DICE and told him in his first day there at Embark that they thought they needed to add PvP. So I 100% think they could have made a fantastic PvE only game if they wanted to put as much time into it as they've put into this finished product. But clearly they didn't think that that was going to work, and they weren't committed to putting that much more time and resources into a PvE only game. And I think I really can't argue with the decision that they've made, because what they've done is at every different turn, they've been honest with themselves. They've used their gut and their intuition to follow the path of what's best and let this game grow and create and become its own living thing. And what we've ended up with is a fantastic game that is being celebrated and played and enjoyed by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in just its first couple of weeks out. So they've 100% made the right decision. I think always trusting your gut and intuition in these situations and being an artist and respecting the creative process is always the best way to go for the best, most original and fulfilling final product. You're not sitting there and going, we're going to make this type of game because it makes this much money and we're going to put this in it for that reason and blah. No, they started with an original vision of something they wanted to create. They started with all this ingenuity in terms of AI and machine learning for the enemies. They started with their own vision for the creative aspects of the futuristic sci-fi. And then at each respective turn, they listened to their guts and let this game take itself where it needed to go. And the end result, as we can see now, is one of the best games of the year, my favorite game of the year, as well as favorite game of the year for many, many people. And even though I am a PvE enjoyer and I don't really engage with the PvP that much, I can't stop playing this game. Would I have loved to see more PvE stuff? Would I have played the shit out of a PvE version of this game? Hell yeah, absolutely I would have. If it came out as well as this final product came out, but they weren't prepared to do that. At one point in the video, he said their tech didn't allow them to make the PvE game that they wanted to make. So I hope at some point we get more information into exactly what that means, because I feel like there's a lot to unravel there, and there wasn't really a lot of specifics given. That was something said by the CEO of Embark Studios. So I would really like to know exactly what that means, and I don't want to speculate, but I will say that is one of the things that has stuck in my mind. But so clearly they have other reasons, and there was more to it as to why they felt the need to pivot. And as a PvE enjoyer, I do kind of wonder what this could have been like. And it could have been something great. It could have been something we loved and played a lot. But you just can't deny that they've been honest with themselves and done their best with this job, and the end result is something fantastic. So they've done the right thing in creating it what it is and making it the game that it currently is. And I think a lot of people have been able to even enjoy the experience without enjoying the PvP. I know I don't engage in the PvP that often. I've got almost 130 hours and I'm still having a good time. So I do wish they kind of tried a little harder on making the PvE interesting. Things like the quests, the skill tree, hidden bunker, even the unlock event for Stellamontis, things like that were kind of just really underwhelming, where I think they could try a little harder to make the PvE more interesting and not lean as hard on just the PvP experience really carrying this game for the masses right now, because there are still so many people invested in this game for the amazing PvE experience. But my main takeaway from this is this game turned out to be as amazing as it is because this development team took their time and they were honest with themselves at each turn as what they were able to do and what was going to be the best for the future of the studio. And this is a very financially successful game at this point, so you cannot argue whatsoever that they made anything along the lines of a wrong decision. They did such a fantastic job adapting as it went along, changing things, not letting, the doubt or the fear of failure overcome them and succumb to the weight of how heavy those things can feel and throw the game aside. They committed to this lore, to this aesthetic, to this vibe, and they did what they knew how to do best with it and turned it into the best game that they could. So will I lapine and miss all the amazing PvE possibilities that are now not in the game? Absolutely. But we can dream. Maybe in the distant future, PvE mode will be activated again where we can get the thrusters and we can dash back and forth with the thrusters on our boots. Because Alex, that dude, seeing that in this video just made me, for like 1 second, go, no, give me that, please. I need that. That looks so sick. And there's so much great footage here that, you know, sometimes I do continue to have that feeling when watching this video of like, man, I would really love to experience what this could have been if they just leaned fully into the PvE. But I just can't argue with the fact that they did the best they possibly could and made one hell of a fantastic game. This is the first video in a series. Like I said, there's going to be another one out. I'm not sure when, but I'll be covering that, where they're going to go into more detail on the next processes of this game after they decided that they were pivoting to a PvPvE experience. They said they're also going to be another video entirely just talking about the AI and mechanical learning of the PvE enemies. So I'm very much looking forward to that one and can't wait to see it. And I'll definitely be talking about that one a lot when it comes out. Make sure you're subscribed to get more content like this, to see those videos talking about the other new videos coming out when they do. Like and comment for the algorithm. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time. Peace.